Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave. He's Dave Bryan of SteelersDepot.com, the place to get your latest and greatest Steelers information. And I'm David Todd. It's Season 9, Episode 22. And Dave, we might have a Vance McDonald sighting on Sunday at Heinz Field. Are you excited?
E-I-E-I-O. Yeah, I'm excited. Here's to him playing and staying healthy moving forward here. I'm not sure how much we're going to see him in this first game. You would think with all the time that he's missed, I think you go back to the second or third practice of training camp is when he suffered that foot injury and obviously missed all of training camp practices from there, missed all the preseason, backup practice, I think, limited basis last Wednesday, did not practice Thursday or Friday, and then fast forward to this week, he's practiced fully on Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll assume, which is probably dangerous to do with him, that he's going to go full on Friday and should be ready to play on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. So, look, anything's better than nothing with him for sure, and if they can get him on the field for a dozen to 15 plays, it should help.
Yeah, I'll put the over-under higher than that. I'll bet we see Vance McDonald for 25, 30 plays in this one. And, yeah, that'll definitely help. The bigger question, obviously, for everybody is all of a sudden there's at least some question mark around Ben Roethlisberger. And, we joked about this, and the whole question about Landry Jones, my whole argument was not, Ben's down for the season, what happens next? If Ben sprains his ankle or something happens and he misses a game or two early in the season, who would you rather have, Landry Jones or Josh Dobbs? Who gives you the better chance to win? I'm sure Steeler fans do not want to find out an answer to that question right here in week 2.
Is this going to be a Ben Opossum burger? I don't know what way to follow. I mean, logic and or I shouldn't say common sense, because I've definitely lacked some of that with some of my predictions lately. But or not so much common sense, but just being wrong, I guess, with some of these predictions. I would lean toward him playing. If he practices today, one would think that he's going to play. If he doesn't practice today, we've seen him start games in the past, right? A couple of times with him not practicing on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Probably not too many instances of that. You certainly will hold your breath based on what he did last week. Performance he had last week, following it up with not practicing for 3 days. So, I wouldn't bet my house, but I would probably, predict that he'll play, as we sit here before the team practices on Friday, that he'll play Sunday against the Chiefs. But obviously, if he doesn't work today, then all bets are off.
Yeah, so this was him not practicing Wednesday. I don't think raised any eyebrows. He skips Wednesday practices often enough, and it's not even if he didn't practice today, I'm with you. I'd bet that he plays. If he doesn't play, then you wonder, is this a more serious injury than anybody gave it credence for, a couple days ago. So, well, we'll just wait and see. We're doing this Friday morning, and the Steelers are probably getting ready to walk out in the practice field right about now. So, we're not going to have an answer, but we'll have obviously everybody will see the injury report coming out in a couple hours. And, along with that, Dave, I guess we had Tyson Alualu was limited with the shoulder. What else do we have? Well, Joe Haden's obviously not going to play. And then, as DeCastro, came out of that game, he's got a busted up hand. Is he going to play with a busted up hand?
I would probably predict that both Haden and DeCastro are going to be inactive. DeCastro sounds like that thing's a little bit more serious than first thought with that fractured hand. Judging by the things he said, it doesn't sound like unless he's 100% or not 100%, but gives them considers himself a better option than say a B.J. Finney, then he's probably not going to go. I don't think. I got to be honest with you. I don't think either one of those injuries, and this is no disrespect to David DeCastro, I don't think those are two impactful injuries this week. I think.
You don't think Joe Haden's impactful this week?
Joe Haden's had a few issues already, and I like what I've seen. Limited out of Cameron Sutton. He gave up the big play, but I think it says a lot about a young corner, the way he rebounded after that big play and all, getting the interception and all. I just personally don't view it as a big of deal maybe than most people when it comes to Haden. And the only reason I say that about DeCastro is because B.J. Finney, for some reason, some magical planets align when it comes to game against the Chiefs. Of the 3 or 4 games that he's had to start during his career at guard, 2 of them have come against the Chiefs, and he's played well, very well in both of those. And now this would mark his first official career start at right guard for Finney. But I mean, we've seen in preseason and him coming in and giving some backup snaps at right guard that he can handle that position too. And my overall view of B.J. Finney, really pretty much since the start has been he's a better guard than he is a backup center. So I'm not now. Obviously, do I want David DeCastro to miss 3, 4, 5 games in a row? No. I mean, he's an all-pro Pro Bowler for a reason there. But this week and this week alone, at those 2 positions, talking about cornerback with Joe Haden and right guard with David DeCastro, I'm not overly concerned because of who they're playing against this week.
Yeah, I'll take the other side of that on the secondary. And yeah, Cam Sutton had an interception on a terrible throw by Tyrod Taylor. The play, the touchdown, I don't put that on Cam. That was a great play by Gordon and a good throw. The Higgins play was the one that was concerning. Higgins beat him bad on that stop and go on the play before the touchdown. So they went, the Browns went down the field there and 50 plus yards in 2 plays against them. I don't think Joe Haden was an all-pro last year. You and I probably had a different view of him than some other people, but yeah, you'd rather have him out there than not. And, we'll get to our buddy Adam Teicher today, the Chiefs beat reporter, but it's going to be interesting. Tyreek Hill's had he's actually had an incredible, 17 games. He had a great year last year, a lot of explosive plays, best return guy in the league, and had a big week last week. And we'll see with Sammy Watkins. I've always been a Sammy Watkins fan, but he has not delivered up to certainly the potential where he was drafted 4th overall by the Bills, trading up to get him. I think it was 4th. And then, the big contract with the Chiefs. They did kind of a quiet season with the Rams last year, the big contract that surprised people with the Chiefs. So I think the Steelers secondary is going to have their hands full of that and having to watch Kelsey running up the seam, who he's done that before against the Steelers. So, yeah, we'll see. It will be, a little baptism by fire, and we'll see which way Tyreek Hill goes. The Steelers aren't going to flip their corners around to match him up man-to-man, I would assume. So we'll see if Cam Sutton gets to face some of that as well. Anybody else on the injury? I think that covered it, right? Nobody else on the list?
Well, you had Cameron Hayward return to practice with a knee. You mentioned Alulu. Be interesting to see what transpires with him. You would think if he's able to go full today, then he should be good to go. And am I missing anybody there? I think there was, 6 total people on the injury report. It was Ben McDonald, it was Haden, it was DeCastro, and then Alulu and Hayward. I don't think I missed anybody there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into this a little bit. When you look at what Kansas City did last week, Pat Mahomes he's going to be making his 3rd career start. He started at end of the season game that didn't matter for them last year. Huge game this past week. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Chiefs put up a lot of points. Obviously, they got some in the return game as well. Does Pat Mahomes scare you?
He's got an arm, man. He's got an arm. He scares me with his look. I've always a fan of quarterbacks that can push the proverbial push the football down the field, and he can do that. He's not you watch that game against the Chargers the other day. He's not afraid to take the deep shots. I don't want to use the word gunslinger with him just yet because I don't see him as that and maybe taking some chances that he shouldn't kind of thing. But I mean, he's got the arm and he can sling the football, and on the flip side, he can drill that ball on those quick slants. I mean, on that one Tyreek Hill touchdown, right? You get a guy like that against some off coverage and Tyreek Hill out of the slot, and have a nice play action fake there with him and hit him in stride. You see what can happen in situations like that. He threw a nice on the Sherman. Who was it? The Sherman touchdown, kind of lined up out of the left H-back position. He kind of runs. I don't know if you'd call that a wheel, kind of a wheel route there, but got one-on-one with the linebacker, which ended up being a mismatch. And even though the linebacker was kind of close and had a nice leap on it, Mahomes put that ball right there on Sherman down the left sideline for a score as well. So, and we'll talk with Adam about this later in the show as well too. He used his feet a few times with some success. I'm not sure you want to continue doing that, but we saw some RPOs, we saw some package plays. They led from start to finish, so he really wasn't pressed in that game, and I think that's probably one of the question marks that Adam talked to us about too. It would be interesting to see what a guy like Pat Mahomes is if he's down and has to press a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, he's a good young quarterback, and he's exciting to watch play.
So yeah, look, this is a team that's got some offensive weapons, Dave. I mean, everybody knows what Kareem Hunt has done, and Spencer Ware's been a guy who's had some success in the league without a lot of pedigree coming out of college. I've always been a DeAnthony Thomas fan. We saw a little bit of him with a touchdown, and what we saw, one of the things to watch in this game is the Chiefs' red zone offense. This is a team. Andy Reid's obviously always been known as a creative mind. Eric Bieniemy's his offensive coordinator, running back out of Colorado, was in the league for a bit, and they will do some misdirection. They will do some, so they will have some keys to try to throw you off and run some different things. And two of their touchdowns this past weekend, guys walking into the end zone because of great play design. And this is something certainly to watch when the Chiefs get in the red zone. How productive they can be, and whether the Steelers have success trying to stop them because of the talent. You look at, because they can go to Kelsey, because you have DeAnthony Thomas, because you have Tyreek Hill, and you have Hunt. It gives you tons of weapons and versatility in the red zone, and this might be, one of the Steelers' toughest challenges all year, kind of in that area.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and the way that you prevent any of that, window dressing galore, right? I mean, you're exactly on it. Hill and DeAnthony Thomas, right? 2 walk-in touchdowns off of some really creative window dressing. There, you just don't know where the football is going to go when they get down deep there. So the best way to prevent and not have to face that is just don't let them down deep into that into those goal-to-goal situations there, because they are probably going to score if they get down that deep. You have to make, in my opinion, you have to focus on the run with them. You have to make sure that you stop Kareem Hunt first and foremost, and I think this is a Steelers defense that can do this on Sunday. I think they can shut down Kareem Hunt. You obviously have to pay a lot of attention to Tyreek Hill regardless of where he is on the field, and it'll be interesting to see how they match up. Now, Mike Hilton, I don't know if you went back through the tape a couple more times. Mike Hilton had a nice game against Cleveland. He really did. It'll be interesting to see how, in situations when Hill is in the slot, you would think it'd be some Mike Hilton on some Tyreek Hill action there. I think the Steelers defense need to make Mahomes win this game going to Kelsey and guys like Sammy Watkins. I really think that that's the way that they need to force Mahomes and that offense to beat them. Take away Hill, take away Hunt, and let's see how Mahomes is able to handle things.
Okay, how about the other side of the ball? For the Steelers, talking about what they want to do offensively, full dose of James Conner. What's your over/under on guys running the ball not named James Conner? Is it 3 or 4 carries, or is it going to be all James Conner again?
Randy Fichtner admitted, I don't know if he just, I'm
tired of Steelers coaches admitting this stuff. It's like John Mitchell with his defensive lineman a couple years ago. Come on, man! It's you can't screw that up, right?
Well, he admitted that he probably should have got Ridley into that game some. Young offensive coordinator. Look, Randy's not a young offensive coordinator. I mean, yeah, he's a new NFL offensive coordinator, but this isn't Randy's first rodeo. You go all the way back to college days and all like that. This guy knows what's going on. Did he just get caught up heat of the moment? And look, I mean, quite honestly, would Ridley have made a difference late in that game?
I don't think it wins you the game. It's just you don't want you got the guys making his first start touching the ball 35 times.
Right, and that's probably something you don't want to make a habit out of, obviously. I think you will see Ridley more in this game. I think you'll see him, I don't know, what do you think, 10, 12 snaps maybe? Probably touch.
Yeah, I'd expect him to have 4 or 5 carries.
Yeah, 4 or 5 touches. And look, Ridley's a guy that you don't have to just hand the football off of, too. We saw even more during the preseason that he can do some things out of the backfield here. This is make no mistake about it. Look, the Chargers, if you watch the game, the Chargers, and we talked to Adam about this as well, too. The Chargers left some plays on the field in that game, especially deep down the field with some drops, with some a little bit too long passes by Rivers. For the most part, though, they moved. It looked like we sometimes we bang our heads up against the wall with the Steelers. They moved the football. They just didn't score, at will until in the fourth quarter there. I thought Gordon had a good game on the ground for them. He had a good game out of the backfield as a pass catcher. There were some shots down the field that I said that the Chargers not only capitalized on, but they left on the field as well, too. So this is a Chiefs defense that I think still has a lot of question marks, and especially in the secondary. They're not going to have Eric Berry this week. Kendall Fuller is a guy at one cornerback position, that obviously, a lot of questions about him. I mean, he washed out with the Redskins and what they traded him, right? And he obviously not a premier corner. Steven Nelson on the other side is a guy I really liked coming out of Oregon State, but more as maybe a sub package type player. He's a physical guy, but he's not going to be a matchup for a guy like, in my opinion, on the outside. Definitely not for Antonio Brown. And maybe not for the instances of 2 wide receiver sets with Juju. I just don't think that's a good matchup for them. And their safeties are kind of, Ron Parker and I think Eric Murray is on the other side for them. They're not very overall impressive there. So I would say that the linebacker core for the Chiefs and Chris Jones and obviously Dee Ford coming off the edge are their strong suits there. And if you can keep those guys off of the quarterback up front and give Ben Roethlisberger some time, I think this is a Chiefs defense that can be exposed in the secondary.
Yeah, I'm with you on the secondary question mark there.
And I think they can run the football as well, too, with Connor.
Well, yeah, look, the Steelers have had big games against this Chiefs team. They've been willing to take shots deep. Obviously, Marcus Peters no longer there, but you remember a couple of years ago, third play of the game, they went deep. I think they went deep to I'm drawing a blank. The kid that is now in Houston.
Sammy?
Yeah, Sammy Coates, right. I was saying all I could think of was Sammy Watkins. So Peters was a guy Ben used to. Peters likes to bait guys. He's not there, and yeah, I'm with you. That secondary might be had for the Steelers. Again, the run game last week pretty good. We'll see what Justin Houston can do coming off the side. He lines up generally line up on the left side, but they'll move him around a little bit. And you look at the linebacking group. There's some pedigree there. I mean, Reggie Ragland was a first-round pick. They got him in the trade from Buffalo when the new regime came in Buffalo and kind of did a lot of cleaned house up there. Anthony Hitchens from Dallas and Dee Ford, a former first-round pick, and everybody knows who Houston is. So that's the key to their success. Their linebackers playing well. If the Steelers are able to get to the second level in the run game and do some creative things in the passing game, I think they can take advantage. I do think this game's going to be a shootout, Dave. I'm worried about the Steelers defensively. I did think kind of as the season, before we got into the season, that I was putting this one as in the win column because Pat Mahomes being a young guy and coming in and not having a lot of experience, but then given the keys to the car for this, and he. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe we are seeing guys come into the league at the quarterback position and have success more quickly than we used to see in the past. And we always used to talk about how Dick LeBeau, getting young guys and the Steelers defense would confuse them and they'd stop them. Well, it hasn't been the case as much in the past couple of years. So I'm concerned about Pat Mahomes. I think the Steelers are going to have to put up some buku points to win this one.
I'm going to take the other side of that coin, David, and maybe I just have a bad. It wouldn't be the first time. Just maybe I have a bad read on this after just watching one Chiefs game, to start the season here. But their offensive line, I like Schwartz over there at right tackle. Definitely good there. But I think their offensive line as a whole isn't all that. Outside of Mitchell Schwartz. I mean, we've seen Eric Fisher struggle in the past, especially, boy, how would you like to have James Harrison for this game? Because, he's owned Eric Fisher. Eric Fisher's got to be the most excited guy on their offensive line right now that he's probably not going to have to go against, he's not going to have to go against James Harrison and instead Bud Dupree. But Bud Dupree, for all of his warts and all, did have a good first showing there against the Browns. But make no mistake, Cam Irving is a guy that is a weak link on that offensive line at left guard. Cameron Hayward has had field days with that guy already. There's no reason to think that won't happen again. Stephon Tuitt, I think it has a nice matchup this week as well too, and it's going to be interesting to watch Schwartz versus T.J. Watt as well. I just think, and maybe I'm way off on this, and people probably going to laugh at me, or hopefully won't laugh at me come Monday's show. I just think this is a Chiefs front that just does not match up well against the Steelers' defensive front. And if they can bottle up Hunt and not have what happened in that third quarter against Cleveland, the 5-6 runs that we talked about there, if they can get Mahomes in those situations where he's having to throw on 2nd and 8 or 3rd and 7 or longer, look out. I think this one can get away. Now, obviously, the whole big play factor comes in. If you let Tyreek Hill big play for 3, 4, 5, 6 big plays in this one, and one or two of them are 50, 60-yard varieties, well, then, all bets are off there. But if you make Mahomes beat you by having to go to Kelsey and Sammy Watkins, and you make him have to put together 11, 12, 13 play drives, I think that's where you can get them. And for that reason, David, I don't think this one's going to be 38-35 or whatever.
All right, well, let's hear what our buddy Adam Teicher has to say about it. Okay, as we mentioned, a little bit of a change in the schedule this week. Generally, we have our beat writer covering the opposing team on Wednesday, but scheduling conflict. But pleased to have Adam Teicher with us back again this year as the Steelers and Chiefs get ready to get it going at Heinz Field at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Adam at ESPN.com. You can follow him on Twitter at his name, at Adam, ADAM, Teicher, T-E-I-C-H-E-R. Adam, as always, thanks for being with us here on the Terrible Podcast.
Yeah, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing well. Little concern in Pittsburgh here after, obviously, the opening weekend tie with the Browns. Probably not so much in Kansas City. And I know when Dave and I have talked, the schedule came out, we looked at this thing and said, okay, Week 2, you got Kansas City coming into Pittsburgh. You got Pat Mahomes going to be making his third career start. You probably want to put this in the W column. Now, all of a sudden, Ben hasn't practiced. Joe Haden's not going to be in. And more importantly, Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs looked great in Week 1. Tell me about Pat Mahomes and what you saw in the preseason and, what we should expect to see on Sunday.
Yeah, it was probably well, he did make one start. Mahomes did at the end of last season. The Chiefs started him out in Denver when they clinched the playoff spot. So it wasn't his first start, but first that really mattered. It was the first one, and it was about all you could have asked for as far as the Chiefs go. They really couldn't ask for more from him. He handled the game like a pro. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. From that perspective, it was a great start for him. Don't want to take anything away from him, but this one's going to be a little more difficult for him. I mean, when he took the field for the first time, the Chiefs had already had the lead. They ran a punt back early in the game for a touchdown, so they were up. They were ahead the first time Pat Mahomes touched the ball on Sunday last week in LA, and that made everything go a lot more smoothly. The Chiefs were never in desperation mode. They sort of controlled the game with help from Mahomes for sure. So, he had a hand in that. But, this game figures to be a lot more stressful for the Chiefs. It was more pressing. There might be some points where they need to make some plays. And now let's see how he's going to respond to that. He's there's no deer in the headlights with him. I mean, he seems to have this he's a 22-year-old guy who you would look at him the way he goes about his business and think he's a guy who's been in the league 5-6 years or whatever. So, but I'm sure the Steelers are going to show him some things on defense that he hasn't seen. I want to see how he handles all that. So it's going to be an interesting game for Pat Mahomes on Sunday. I'm really eager to see how he handles this one.
You don't see what happened with the Chiefs in the offseason very often. Look, this is a a really good team with a very dependable quarterback. And obviously in today's, it's been a salary cap world for a long time, and quarterbacks are making so much money. So, Alex Smith is jettisoned for a guy who, obviously they bet, they're betting the farm on a guy who they picked with number 10 pick or 12 pick overall, whatever it was. And, throwing him the reins after a year, don't want to make this, make conclusions based on 1 week, but it looks like a great decision. What's Pat Mahomes like?
He's a guy who, his dad played Major League Baseball. He was a pitcher for the Twins and some other teams. I want to say the Pirates.
I think he got a cup of coffee with the Pirates. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So he was, he was Major League pitcher for, I think, 11 seasons. So Pat Mahomes kind of grew up in a Major League locker room. He was always hanging around in there with his dad. And so he's used to be, he just sort of naturally knows how to handle situations. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain, but this is not a guy who gets fazed by a whole lot. He just sort of knows how this goes and knows the process here, and so he knows all about these things. So he's just kind of there's no deer in the headlights with him. I mean, it's just kind of he's kind of an interesting guy in that way. He just seems to have this calm about him that maybe all the great quarterbacks do. We'll see if he can join those guys and become a great quarterback himself. But he's off to a pretty good start right now.
He sure is, and boy, does he have an arm, and we know that going back to his college days, and if you didn't know it, all you needed to see was that preseason game, I think it was against the Falcons, where he threw something like 62 yards in the air on a touchdown there. I went back through the game twice that they played against the Chargers, and, he did have to use his legs, and a couple of them by design there. Is that really something that they want to make a habit out of with him on some of these package plays, having him run the football? Because he took, I think, 2 decent hits in that game.
Yeah, he did, and the Chiefs don't want him doing that kind of stuff. But you know what? He can move around a little bit. I mean, he's not a statue back there. He can move around and make some plays with his legs. And one of the things he does so well is when he gets flushed out of the pocket, he's looking to make a play. I mean, the play's not dead yet. I mean, he's not scrambling for looking to run. I mean, he's looking to make down the field. And we've seen that many times where he's in practice or certainly in the game against Denver last year, where he's on the run and he's making a play down the field. So that's where he's the most dangerous. Alex Smith was more of a when he got out of the pocket and started to scramble, that's what he was going to do. He was going to run, and Mahomes isn't in Smith's category as a runner, but the Chiefs don't want him to be. They want him mostly sitting back there in the pocket and doing his work from back there.
Kareem Hunt in the backfield didn't have a huge game. I think 49 yards on the ground and no receptions out of the backfield there. This is a kid that got off to a great start during his rookie. Well, actually not a great start. The first carry, of course, was the fumble, I think, against the Patriots. But
Yeah.
since then, he reeled off, I think, 4 or 5 good games. And then he went through that stretch in the middle of the season there, we're really not a very productive back. And then I think he had a couple of 100-yard games late in the season. But overall, seems to be a very inconsistent back. And my thoughts of him coming out of his rookie season was, I'm not too sure about this guy overall. It looks like he goes down quickly on first contact at times. What is your, seeing him now for a season plus? What is your real thoughts on Kareem Hunt as a every down back?
Yeah, well, I'll argue with you a little bit on how easy he is to bring down. I mean, he's a hard guy to knock off his feet. That's one of the things the Chiefs really like about him is that a lot of times it'll take a couple of guys to bring him down. So there's that, but he's not a real fast guy. That's probably why he wasn't drafted higher than he was. So there's not great game-breaking speed or anything like that with him. Just a reliable guy. And, I think you can trace that slump he had in the middle of last season more to the problems that were going on around him. I mean, the Chiefs were really struggling. They lost, I think 6 out of 7 at one point last year. So 5 out of 6, I think it was. But anyway, at any rate, he was more, what was going on with him was more a product of that than anything going on with him. And then the Chiefs got it back late in the year and he got it back. But as far as what's going on this year with him, the Chiefs haven't run the ball well. They didn't run it well in the preseason and they didn't run it well in LA last week. So they got to figure something out there because, they're going to need him to produce for them. So, we'll see what happens this Sunday against the Steelers. But, you're right. Not a great debut for him for sure.
Well, are you surprised that Cam Erving got a new contract?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't great money. I mean, it obviously can get better if he hits some playtime incentives. So it wasn't a great contract, but yeah, I don't think he's really played like that, but the Chiefs have some issues looking forward with their offensive line. They got some guys that are going to be coming up, and I sense those guys are going to be too rich for their blood. So he's maybe more insurance than anything else. But yeah, I don't think he's played well enough for the Chiefs to deserve the kind of extension that he got.
Adam, is Tyreek Hill blossoming into a guy that we can think of as an elite, like a number one receiver? Look, we know how fast he is, and we've seen a lot of fast guys in the league, but he is, these explosive plays that he can, almost week in and week out, whether it's in the return game or in the receiving game. But we all know as a return guy, he's probably the number one guy in the game right now. But as a receiver, where is he?
I think he's right up there with the best in the league. I mean, he's got some. He's not just fast. I mean, he can track a deep ball like nobody I've ever seen. I mean, he just does such a nice job adjusting to the ball and tracking it down the field. He's tough to deal with. He's becoming a really good route runner. So, I think he's up there, right near the top of the league. So, that's another guy I'm eager to see play on Sunday against the Steelers because last couple of games against Pittsburgh, the Steelers have done a nice job eliminating him. I think the Chiefs thought in that playoff game a couple of years ago, they thought that he was going to be a difference maker, and he didn't do anything that night. So I'm eager to see how the Steelers defend him and whether they're able to take him out of the game.
Yeah, hopefully punted out of bounds every time. Sammy Watkins, a lot of varied opinions around the league of what kind of player Sammy Watkins is. And obviously the deal that he signed with Kansas City, I think, surprised a lot of people. What do you think of Sammy Watkins, and what have you seen in his short time with the Chiefs through the preseason and 1 week of the season?
Yeah, not a great start so far. The Chiefs in the preseason and in camp, it was kind of obvious that he and Mahomes weren't really there yet. They weren't on the same page. You could see that Mahomes was there with Tyreek Hill and also there with Travis Kelce, who had a nice camp and a nice preseason, but not with Watkins. And you could just see that it wasn't there. The Chiefs, he caught 3 balls last week, but 2 were just sort of simple screen passes that it looked like the Chiefs were saying, hey, we want to get you involved, and this is really the only way we can count on being able to do that. So, they're going to have to get more from Sammy Watkins. I mean, the Chiefs didn't give him the money they did for him to be just a down the line option. He's got to be part of this if this thing's going to consistently work pretty well. So, but it could happen at any time, but it's hard to predict it's going to happen anytime soon for him, because it just doesn't look like he and Mahomes were seeing the same things at a lot of times.
Another player that had a rough first week, Kelce, with just the 1 grab. I think they had 5 or 6 targets in that game. And the Steelers have done a fairly decent job against Kelce in the past games as well, too. Does he need to be a more focal point of the offense this week? Because the Steelers are obviously going to pay a lot of attention once again to Tyreek Hill, and so that should loosen things up for a guy like Watkins and Kelce. Does he have to have a big game for the Chiefs to win this week?
Well, somebody does, whether it's Hill or Kelce or Watkins or Hunt. Somebody's got to have a big game. I mean, the Chiefs have 43 points in their last 3 games against the Steelers, counting that playoff game a couple of years ago. So somebody's got to do better. I mean, the Steelers have done a really as well as anybody of just taking out, eliminating a bunch of guys as a threat. I mean, and no one else has really done that on a consistent basis. Certainly nobody in the AFC West. I mean, but you look, going back to last week, you look at the Chargers, Kelce's really never had a big game against them. They've sort of made a priority of eliminating him, but then you go back and look, and Tyreek Hill has consistently had big games against the Chargers. So what happened last week, I don't think was a big deal in that regard. I know the Chiefs would like to get Kelce more involved. They realize that their offense is going to work better when everybody's getting involved. And so I would expect Kelce to be more a part of the offense on Sunday.
When you flip over to the defensive side of the football there, if you just looked at the stat sheet alone from the first week, you look at the 28 points that the Chiefs gave up. You say that's kind of a high number there, but 16 came in the fourth quarter there. Kind of a little bit of prevent, just don't give up the big play. But they did give up like 8 big plays in that game of 20 yards or more. And on top of that, the Chargers left, I think if memory serves me, about 3 or 4 plays out there, either just drops on deep balls or Rivers just a little bit long on a few of them. Is the defense a concern right now? Because Gordon sure seemed to have a good game on the ground against them, and as I said, It looked like the Chargers left some plays out there.
Yeah, defense is a concern for the Chiefs right now, and you're right. That game the other day was just such a weird game. It's kind of hard to know what to believe in and what not to. There was the way the game played out. You're right. I mean, 3 quarters, the Chargers had 12 points, and they kind of went big in the fourth quarter. But and then there were the drop passes that you referenced. That we might be having a totally different conversation today if the Chargers had done a better job of holding on to the ball. So. Chiefs did some nice things, though. I mean, you could argue that the most important Chargers offensive possession of the game, as things turned out, was the first one. The Chargers got the opening kickoff, and Chiefs made them go 3 and out. And then the Chargers had to punt, and Tyreek Hill ran it back for a touchdown. So, it's one of those deals where the Chiefs sort of got the job done when they had to, but still, you like to see them finish the job a little better than they did. So it was kind of all over the map. You don't know what to make of that game, and I think we'll know more about the Chiefs defensively after this one and after the Steelers game.
Defensively, we're seeing a little bit of a different defensive backfield. Eric Berry back there, we've seen him. But the secondary, just your overall impression. Obviously, they made the trade in the offseason. Those kind of trades surprise people when you trade guys who've been successful. Was there an attitude issue, or what was the situation?
Yeah, there was a lot. That's kind of a long story. I mean, Marcus Peters is a handful. I mean, he just is. And, yeah, he was an attitude problem. He walked off the field last year in the middle of a game, for crying out loud. So, I mean, he is a problem. He was a problem, and the Chiefs decided they didn't want to deal with it anymore. And, great coverage corner, but not a full-service player. And, he didn't play against the run. He acknowledged after the season that he doesn't want to get hurt. So a lot of times the Chiefs were playing with 10 guys against the run when the opponent ran the ball and when he was out there. And, the Chiefs just didn't want to pay big money for that. And Peters really didn't want to stay anyway. I mean, he was out when his contract is up. He wasn't going to re-sign with the Chiefs. He wanted to go back to the West Coast, which I get. I get that part of it. But at any rate, the Chiefs decided to take what they could get at the time. And under the circumstances, I thought the return was pretty good because it tells you a lot that nobody really, other than the Rams, really wanted him.
Yep.
That sort of tells you that that he's a problem, and maybe the Rams can rein him in. I don't know, but the Chiefs really saw him as more part of the problem than part of the solution.
You mentioned there were some issues on the defensive side of the ball, and you look at this defense, and it's been a good defense over the years. And the Steelers have obviously transitioned from being a dominating defense to struggling on the defensive side of the ball. When you look at this group as a whole, how do you evaluate them?
The Chiefs in their secondary?
The defense as a whole.
That's certainly they got a lot of work to do, and I'm not sure they're capable of getting there. This is an offensive team for sure, and they're going to have to score some points if they're going to win the AFC West again and go deep in the playoffs. The defense isn't going to carry the Chiefs. The hope is maybe sort of that they can get to, that 15 to 20 range defensively. And I don't know, that seems right now to be a little bit of a stretch. We'll see. But the Chiefs have, you look at what the Chiefs have done in the draft offensively in the last 4, 5, 6 years. They've done a great job finding guys, and not necessarily in the first round. Kelsey came in the third round. Hill came in the fifth round. Hunt came in the third round. Mahomes, well, he came in the first. But the Chiefs have just done a nice job of finding guys defensively who have, or offensively, I'm sorry, particularly in the later rounds. But you don't see that on defense. In the last 5 or 6 years, you look at the guys they've drafted, and it's a lot of it is either guys who are already gone or guys who have been a huge disappointment or just haven't lived up to where they were drafted. So there's some exceptions to that. They got a defensive lineman they drafted in the second round a couple of years ago by the name of Chris Jones, who's a pretty good player, and he's certainly been worth that draft spot. And one of their outside linebackers, D Ford, a former first-round pick, played really well against the Chargers last week. So we'll see if he can keep that up. But he's been really inconsistent and been injured for most of his time with the Chiefs. So they just drafted better on offense, and that's why they're in the situation they're in right now. Is that for whatever reason they've been able to find guys or develop guys in the on the offensive side, but not so much on defense.
This defense, when you look at it, especially against the Chargers, Obviously, I don't think Eric Berry's going to play again this week with that Achilles/heel. Might be on the shelf a little bit while longer. I like Nelson coming out of Oregon State, but he's more of a physical guy than he is a speed guy. I guess what I'm getting at here is you look at the Chiefs' defense on tape right now, just the overall athleticism just doesn't seem to be there. I mean, they've got some good players. Anthony Hitchens is a guy I think the Steelers should have maybe tried to go after during the offseason. They obviously didn't. He was a nice add for them. But overall, is that what your thoughts on this defense is? Is just the overall athleticism is lacking?
I'd say in spots. I think maybe you could say that at corner. I don't know about linebacker, Justin Houston. No, I don't know that you'd say that for overall. I think maybe in the secondary, certainly right now, because Eric Berry's not out there, that things can look that way. And the other starting safety, Dan Sorensen, isn't playing either. He's on IR right now. So Chiefs are really playing without both their starting safeties. So, but yeah, I see what you're saying, but I'd say that's more at corner or maybe now in the secondary than in the front seven.
One final question from me. It looks like Ben Neiman's kind of questionable, very questionable right now, I think, with a hamstring injury here. And he's obviously a backup linebacker, but I know all the attention on special teams will be on, Tyreek Hill and all like that. But isn't Neiman a core special teams player? And could this kind of impact this game if he's not able to go Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, that's an area we haven't talked about, but the Chiefs were really good on special teams last week, and even taking away the punt return for a touchdown. They forced a punt on an LA punt return and recovered it and scored a touchdown off that. So, and then just down to down, the Chiefs were very good on special teams last week. So that's an area where they could win on Sunday. But Ben Neiman was doing a nice job before he got hurt on special teams. So he's a rookie, an undrafted guy who won his way on the roster by playing really well in the preseason. But the Chiefs will have to find a way to cover for him. I don't think he's going to be ready on Sunday.
Adam, this is one of those games where I think guys who cover the teams and follow them closely are probably looking at the other team saying, boy, they're going to have their hands full this week. And I know I feel that way from the Steelers' perspective. Give us a winner on Sunday. Who you got?
Well, I got the Steelers. I picked them, I think 27-21 is what I picked. I've just witnessed these recent Chiefs-Steelers games. I mean, they're controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides, and it's hard to get that vision out of your head, And I know Bell's not going to be playing, and Ben is somewhat up in the air. Well, that'll turn it around if Roethlisberger doesn't play. That obviously I pick the Chiefs, but I just don't know that enough has changed to make me flop to erase what I've seen over the last few years between these teams. The Chiefs have spent some money on defense. Hitchens is one of them. They drafted a nose tackle. They signed another one in free agency. So they've tried to improve their run defense. The Chiefs obviously have a new quarterback, and I would expect Mahomes to give them maybe a little bit of a boost here. But I just don't know that enough has changed. So until I see the Chiefs holding their own, at least on the line of scrimmage against the Steelers, I'm just not going to pick it. I'll stick with what I know, and that's that the Steelers always dominate the Chiefs up front. So I'll go with the Steelers 27-21.
Hey, we always appreciate your time and your insights, man. Really thanks so much for making time for us again this week.
Hey, anytime, guys.
Okay, Adam Teicher of ESPN.com. Check him out on Twitter at Adam Teicher. Okay, Dave, good stuff as always from Adam. And I'm not surprised that he picked the Steelers. If as he said, if you've watched this rivalry over the years, the Steelers have got the better of them. That playoff game that he referenced was a game probably Chiefs fans think they could and should have won. But the Steelers have certainly taken them apart at times at Heinz Field in the regular season. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll get to our picks. But, interesting that he referenced what you said before, the lines, the Steelers handling handling them on both sides of the line. And as we've seen, it doesn't matter how much you throw the ball in today's NFL. If you lose both sides of the line of scrimmage at the line, you're probably going to lose the football game.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure, and that's I think that's what that could be the difference in this game. Now, obviously, all this assumes Roethlisberger plays. If he doesn't, then my prediction at least is probably going to look pretty silly when we get to it. But just my overall read on the Chiefs, and I watched that game against the Chargers twice. I really think this sets up good for the Steelers defense versus their offense, and the Steelers offense versus the Chiefs defense.
That's good because that's both sides. So that works out well. Well, all right. Well, Dave, we've been talking about MyBookie, and as we've been talking about years of you and I paying money to the man. If you're gonna get after it, there's no better place to do it than at MyBookie AG. And they've been in business for years. They get great reviews online. Their mobile site's easy to use. And Dave and I only recommend a site that we were willing to use ourselves. That's why we urge you to check out mybookie.ag. You win, they pay. They have in-game live betting over-under on fantasy, which is unique. Not everybody has that stuff, and that's a different way to come at some of these things. If you don't want to get on one team or another, you can get on your fantasy guys or against your fantasy guys if you want to hedge a bit. They get all sorts of perks in that. And by the way, MyBookie, they got a new promotion coming up this week. They've been slammed with new bettors, and they're trying to get things spread out. They want to give everybody the best service possible. So if you deposit after 7 p.m. Eastern time, they'll give you an additional $25 free play on deposits over $100. And remember, they'll match your deposit dollar for dollar, your initial offer, if you use the promo code TERRIBLE, TERRIBLE, to activate the offer. So if you visit MyBookie online, MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code TERRIBLE. If you're creating a new account, you can claim up $1,000 in free play. And if you do it after 7 p.m., you get an additional $25 of free play. So check it out. It's up to you guys. But wait till after dinner, 7 p.m. Eastern time. You play, you win, you get paid. MyBookie.ag.
And just to clarify in that promo code, if you're going to do it after 7, use promo code Terrible25.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
Terrible25, and not only will they match your first your initial deposit from $100 up to $1,000, they'll also give you the additional $25 in free play. So that's Terrible25 after 7 p.m. Before 7 p.m., just use the promo code Terrible.
And Dave, the Ravens got off to a terrible start last night. As I mentioned, I didn't see the first half, and I only saw a little bit at the end of the game. And when I walked in, it was 28-23, I think, Bengals at that point. So the Ravens had a chance to come back and actually win that game. But a big start for Andy Dalton. What did you see last night from the Steelers' two divisional rivals?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure we have a good handle on who these teams are just yet. To be quite honest with you, because of not only them playing each other, the Bengals, who did they beat? They beat the Colts in week 1, and the Ravens beat who? The Bills?
Bills, yeah.
So, I mean, if you go and you just, all you watched was last night's game alone, you'll see that, boy, the Ravens might have some issues on defense. The offense with Joe Flacco was just, I mean, I don't know. He threw 2 touchdowns in that game and threw for 376 yards, but the 2 interceptions in that game. He fumbled late in the game, sprinting out of the pocket, getting sacked from behind.
By the way, did you think I was paying half attention because I was with some people, but I thought his arm was moving forward on that. Did I miss that?
No, it was an empty hand. I mean, that ball was coming out.
Okay.
It was a fumble there. Not only that, he had like 5 or 6 balls, I think, tipped at the line of scrimmage, talking about Flacco. 32. They're not going – if Flacco has to throw 55 times a game, that's disaster for them. They couldn't run the football with any amount of effectiveness in that game. You look at the receiving corps. There, I think obviously John Brown, a decent game, 4 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown there. But outside of that, they're going to have, and boy, Flacco does not like having Lamar Jackson on the field, having to line up wide a couple of times. Flacco did in that game. I just am not sure how all this is going to work. And boy, they're missing Jimmy Smith right now. On top of it, this thing looks like it could go south in a hurry. As far as the Bengals did, they looked comfortable in that game. Andy Dalton, the 4 TDs in that game. 3 of them all 4 of those came in the first half, and 3 of them went to, of course, A.J. Green there. They ran the ball. They mixed it up nice there. They got a lot of people involved in that passing game as well, too. The defense didn't look bad, on top of it, and that's really where I thought their strength was going to be, if any at all, was on the defensive side of football here. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where both these teams go from here. I am a bit surprised that the Bengals are 2-0 right now, but let's see where they are, another 4 or 5 weeks from now.
All right, let's get to a little bit of action from mybookie.ag. We got this week's lines, and how did we end up doing last week?
I haven't even looked.
All right, I'm going to guess we did okay. I'm going to guess I did okay, but we'll see. All right. Skins, Colts. Colts at the Skins. Skins -5.5. Andrew Luck back in action. He said he came out of that one feeling pretty good about things. Skins obviously go on the road to Arizona and get a win. That's a good start to the season for them. I don't know what to make of the Skins and Alex Smith, but you know what? I'm going to take him at home -5.5.
Boy, can the Colts start off 0-2 with Andrew Luck back? I mean, geez. They can't be that bad, and Washington can't be that good. I give me the Colts. I'm not sure the Colts will win this, but I think the Colts can keep this to a field goal at least. So give me the Colts +5.5.
Big early season game in the NFC South. Falcons -5.5 at home. Obviously coming off the loss to the Eagles. The Panthers get the win over the Cowboys. 5.5 is too many, Dave. These two teams have had some interesting games over the years. Some are blowouts. Some are, when you think it's going to be a blowout, you have some surprise winners. I'll take the points in this one. We'll take the road, the Carolina Panthers.
Boy, another team, Falcons. Is this going to be an 0-2 team? To start the season here? I don't think so. I know I've learned my lesson enough time not to take Matt Ryan on the road. But I'll take him at home and lay the points. I think they can win this by a touchdown. Give me the Falcons -5.5.
Seasonal change in Buffalo at the quarterback position. As we mentioned the other day, Nate Peterman, you can't have 2 worse starts than the former Pitt grad did in his 2 starts so far in the NFL. So they go to Josh Allen. He's going to make his debut at home against a Chargers team that's probably feeling a little bit spanked with that loss at home to the Chiefs. 8 is a lot flying across the country. That tells you what the world thinks of the Bills and this new quarterback. And you know what, Dave? I'm going to lay it. I'm taking the Chargers.
I am too. Chargers should have put up more points against the Chiefs. They left a lot of plays on the field there. The Bills just don't look good right now. Rookie quarterback and all. This might not be pretty. So I'm with you. I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to take the Chargers. Lay that 8 on the road.
Titans +2.5 at home against the Texans. Who you got?
I don't know what to make. I'm staying away from this one. I don't know what to think about it. But for our purposes, give me the Titans at home +2.5.
I'll take the Texans. Dolphins at the Jets. All of a sudden, there's a story changing. Everybody missed on the Jets last year. They were a better team than people thought, and they certainly looked reasonably good Monday night against the Lions. Sam Darnold, after that first pick 6 on the first throw of his NFL career, they come back and kind of blow the Lions out. I'll take the Jets -3 at home.
I've said for a while, I think Darnold would have been best served to stay in school another year. But with that said, on top of that said, I think he was the best young quarterback, best top quarterback of the rookie class here. I want to see him do it again, though. I really do. He had a nice game against. He recovered from that early pick 6 there. I want to see him do it again. Give me the Dolphins on the road +3.
Eagles at the Bucks. The Bucks Steelers go down to Tampa for the Week 3 matchup against Tampa Bay. Ryan Fitzmagic was awesome in Week 1. Will he do it in Week 2? I'll take the Eagles -3 on the road.
Yeah, can Fitzmagic repeat the magic? I don't think so. I think just they're going to get out coached here. So give me the Eagles -3 on the road.
Going to be interesting down in the dome. The Saints -9.5 against the Browns. Tyrod Taylor was not good, but I think you saw some decent things out of the Browns defense. I still think they have lots of weapons. The Saints are going to put up points. The question is, are the Browns going to score points against the Saints defense? I'm going to say no. Like I said, look, I think the Browns are a 5-6 win team, maybe more, but they're not going to get one down here. And I'm going to take the Browns in a 23-14 game, so a 9-point game. And since I'm getting 9.5, I'll take the Browns.
The man is trying to trap us here, isn't he?
9.5 is always an interesting number.
The man wants us to believe the Hard Knocks hype, the Week 1 tie against the Steelers. He's not going to get me on this one. This is Dave's stone cold lock of the century of the week. Saints 4 units -9.5.
All right, good enough. 4 o'clock games. Rams hosting the Cardinals 13.5. I'm laying it. I like the Rams. They're fun to watch. I didn't see any of that Cardinals game last week, but that's a poor showing against the Skins at home to get blown out like that. So let's make it 2 in a row. Give me the Rams minus a bunch.
Boy, yeah, huge line, right? But 2 words: Aaron Donald. That guy is just unreal. I'm gonna lay that big number. Lay the 13.5.
Your boy Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have the most auspicious debut last week. He'll get a chance at home this week against the Lions, who got to feel, man, you'd think people are impatient in Pittsburgh. Holy cow. Up in Detroit, people want to already fire Matt Patricia after 1 start, and everybody's making the analogies that Bill Belichick's assistant coaches can't win in the NFL. All 7 new coaches, by the way, they lost in week 1, 0-7 for all new coaches, which it's not completely unexpected. Obviously, you're a new coach because you're taking over a team that didn't perform well. Niners -6.5, sure, I'll lay it. Patricia's going to have get off to an 0-2 start.
George Kittle, 2 touchdowns in this game. Jimmy Garoppolo, 3 touchdown passes in this game. I'm taking the 49ers, laying the 6.5.
Pats at the Jags, the feature matchup at 4:25. Rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. Give me the Pats -2.5 on the road.
Yeah, Fournette with that hammy, right? I think is he questionable right now?
Ankle or hammy?
Yeah, I don't know if it's ankle or hammy. I don't know, but they have to be able to run the football in this game to obviously keep Tom Brady off the field. Gronk looks like Gronk. I just don't see this being close. Give me the Patriots, unless something happens injury-wise during the game that really tilts this one. I just don't see it. Patriots lay the 2.5 on the road.
Oakland on the road in Denver. Denver gets a good week 1 win. Oakland kept the game close for a half last week. I'll take the Raiders +6.
Man, it just smells of desperation over there. All these roster moves that Gruden's making already. It's a veteran team over there. Yada yada. But until I start to see more out of that offense, I don't know about this one. Give me the Broncos lay the 6.
All right, big NFC East matchup. It seems like every year this is an early season game that one of these teams is going to start out 0-2. The Giants in Dallas -3. I have trouble betting on Eli Manning, certainly on the road here. Give me the Cowboys -3 at home.
Yeah, I watched that Dallas game though, and if the Giants can stop Ezekiel Elliott and force Dak to beat them elsewhere, it might be a longer day for Dak than it will Eli Manning. I like the Giants straight up in this one. So I'm taking those 3 points on the road.
All right, Bears -3.5 against the Seahawks. Bloom off the rose for the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. This is Earl Thomas is back, made a couple plays, but this Seahawks team, big question marks. Man, did Khalil Mack have an impact? This is, the Bears should be 1-0. The Bears look like they might actually be a decent team this year. We'll see how Trubisky plays, but I'm taking the Bears at home -3.5.
Yeah, and look, I mean, people might start believing in the Bears here in a little bit here. If they keep things up, and Mack is really an impact player, and we saw that the other night. I'm just going to boil this one down to the two quarterbacks, and I'll take Russell Wilson over Mitch Trubisky.
All right. Brings us back to Heinz Field, 1 o'clock on Sunday, Dave. Steelers a 4.5-point favorite. I'll just make it nice and simple. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Steelers will miss Haden. I assume Ben is going to play. I think the Steelers win this one, but it's going to be a close one, 31-27.
I'm going to go a little bit different than you are, and of course, this assumes Ben plays on this. I just said in our preview there, I think this game matches up better for the Steelers on both sides of the football, and as long as they don't give up a big play or four, they and can control the keep Tyreek Hill from returning 190-something yards for a touchdown. I think they're going to be okay, David. I don't think the Steelers will score a ton of points in this one, but I think they'll cover, and I think they'll cover easily, and I hope I don't look like a fool on Monday. But give me the Steelers 26-16 at home in this one.
All right.
Do we have a Green Bay something on Green Bay?
I glossed right over the Pack.
I don't see a line on this right now. Let me see if I can get us one.
That's what it was. It didn't have a line for the Pack game.
It might be because of the injuries to Rodgers and all. Let me see. Yeah, David and I will have to pick this one on the side closer to the game time because they're not pushing a line on this yet.
Alrighty.
All right. You got anything else to add?
I don't.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can find David Todd on Twitter at David M. Todd. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the show, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit that donate button up right navigational bar. Additionally, if you want an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, a lot of people have been taking advantage of this. We have it now where you can get an ad-free version for 1 year for $25. Click ad-free in the upper right navigational bar as well. David, we'll talk to you on Monday, and I sure hope we're talking about a 1-0-1 Steelers team.
As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave.